MASL Monday, the last Monday of 2024 here on CBS Sports Golazo. How's it going, everybody? Alex Bashevansky, my Chrome Dome friend, Phil Levanko. Brother, how you doing, man? How was Christmas for you? How's the holidays been so far?
Alex, when you're a parent, Christmas is a working holiday, right? You have to shuttle kiddo or kiddos from one side to the other side, make sure each get the exact same amount of time, make sure all of the ridiculous, in my case, a 5-foot stuffed reindeer came back home.
With a red nose or just a regular generic? Was it
just
dancer,
a regular, just a
dancer?
giant overstuffed reindeer coming back home. Had to fit it in the car, but it's a working holiday, man. What do I tell you?
The big question is, were Nana and Papa happy? Did they get equal time with the kids? Yes. So everything was okay on the home front. That's the main thing, right?
It's all, and it's not about us. It's not about us. We are the keepers of the cup, right? That's what it is.
And Santa found his way down the chimney, okay, right? So I've all is right on the home front. That's excellent. We've got welcome everybody. There was some craziness again on the weekend. To put it mildly, nearly one massive upset, and one we could definitely call the one that actually did happen a pretty big upset, Phil. And we're going to start with Kansas City hosting the St. Louis Ambush in the Battle of Missouri. Yes, there you go. Everyone was pumped. Holiday cheer. And St. Louis came to play in this one, man, and they opened a few eyes. It was a bit of a shocker.
So, tactical wrinkle two from the Ambush. First half, very defensive. They almost shut out the Comets too in the first half. Played 5 men behind the ball, really tried to stifle the Comets' attack, and then they hit him on transition, as we've just seen, right? So they couldn't hand him William S.K. Frank, absolutely gorgeous goal, chipping the keeper. Then we see the Comets make a little rally, come back. But St. Louis, to their credit, they stuck with it the whole time, was able to pull off the win in overtime. Both SK brothers had a goal, and then the game winner from, in my opinion, probably one of the more invaluable pieces that the Ambush have, which is Lucas Almeida. I mean, we talk about Frank and we talk about Will SK, but here's Almeida. He's just plugging along on this team, and he's been great. And really more of the creative stuff on this team runs through their number 10. It's pretty incredible. He's on a 3-game point streak, right? 5 assists and a goal. So as we've talked about here, that was a bad whiff from John A. after he scored. But
here, look at this. Here's the setup on the winner. How good has SK been this season? Seriously, he has just been he's the motor that drives this team. I feel like beautiful setup, dangles to the net. Of course, there was a little delay on the call because they weren't sure if it had actually gone in or not. But that is last year. I believe it was KC won 5 of 6 or 6 of 7 against St. Louis. St. Louis didn't have a road win since, what's the date we found? January of 2023. So almost 2 years, January 15th, 2023, the last time that St. Louis had a road win. They do it against their biggest rival in the Battle of Missouri and Phil in front of, 4,700 strong at Cable Dahmer. Which, this is St. Louis coming through in the clutch, baby. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was a huge crowd. Kansas City wanted to entertain that home fan base too, right? And just couldn't get it going offensively. Finishing let them down. But St. Louis came in with a game plan, something we wanted to see from the Ambush, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted to see some cohesion and a massive win. Massive win in games they need to win for playoffs.
They're building off that first win they picked up last week. They got some confidence now, which is going to be very interesting. Let's point out a couple of things. Let's move to Milwaukee, Dallas. We're going to go over the game very quickly because it was a 9-1 blowout for the Wave. But we got to point out the Canadian assassin, Ian Bennett, with his 400th career MASL goal. IB26, congratulations, my friend.
So really the biggest takeaway from this game is one of the absolute all-star legends in the MASL era, scoring their 400th goal. Only 2 players have scored 400 goals in the MASL era, Ian Bennett and, of course, Frank Tayu. But this game to me was a little bit of revenge game from the Wave. Upset in Dallas. Now they've got a full-strength Wave team at home, and they just put the Sidekicks to the sword, man. They didn't let them, Wave play close games, right? We've talked about it for 2 years on this show, that the games that they play are just too close. Not this one. They blew them out from the start.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago they left a good portion of their starters behind when they went to Dallas. But still, you don't like to drop a game to a team that you're obviously supposed to win. There's the Bennett goal right there, beautiful. But you don't like to drop those games, especially in a playoff run that's going to be so tight. The playoff race this season, now that the conferences are combined, we've got one single table. It's going to be tough. You don't like to lose those games in Milwaukee. I think wanted to come out in this one and prove that, that is not going to happen again. Right. So let's move, buddy, to a Baltimore and Harrisburg.
I'm pretty sure this is the 400. So let's just watch the 400. Alex Sanchez with the assist. We've been talking about main men, right? On Wave. It might be Alex Sanchez.
Sanchez is he's the third right now in the scoring race. So he's definitely bringing in. He might be the main man on Milwaukee this season. I agree with you. We got about a minute and a half here. You want to touch on Baltimore and Harrisburg, which was nearly is the other almost upset that we were talking about. Harrisburg up winless this season, of course, up 5-0 on the Blast. It should be said the Blast also started some different guys in this game, Phil, but they were up 5-0 on the Blast. And we talked about it last week with Joey Tavernisi as well, that Harrisburg is not an easy out, and they're showing it again. They're a solid team this year that's been unlucky. They haven't been able to pick up a win. They were up 5-0. Heartbreaking stuff. Baltimore, good on Baltimore, by the way, come all the way back and take it 9-8 in overtime.
So my main takeaway from this game is Coach Bascom, right? They were down pretty big. They were down heading into the fourth quarter too, and I don't want to call it the panic button, but he certainly pulled a desperation move. He benched all of his veterans. He benched Bruno, he benched Juan Pereira, he benched Jamie Thomas, and he benched Mike Diesel. Let the young guys kind of say, you know what, boys, you got to win this one for us. And they did. We have to mention TST $1 million goal scorer Chad Porch. He's been a great find for Baltimore, scored a goal in this game. And then also I want to put everyone on baller alert here. I want to put everyone, my official Phil Ivanko baller alert, Welly Bermuz, left-footed player on Baltimore, and he's just got something to him, man. He scored a couple goals in this game, and he's got a lot of action to him. And Baltimore pulled it out. Eventually Pereira scored the game winner in overtime. So the vets did come back into the game, but the young guys in Baltimore really getting the credit for this one. Julian Rodriguez in net had a couple of great saves as well.
Absolutely. And you wanted to give a quick shout out to Jake Dengler as well in his first year for Harrisburg. You really like his performance.
Oh, he's been great. He's been great for Harrisburg all season, scored an absolute cracker with his left foot. There's Julian making a save on our new friend, Joey. But yeah, Jake Dengler's been fantastic for Harrisburg and sort of the way Harrisburg has to play, right? They have to find these guys. They have to unearth these gems. And that's just the way it's going to go for the Heat.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more games and also our all-star picks for the upcoming league showcase in Utica. More MASL Monday coming back in just a moment. Welcome back to MASL Monday, folks. Alex Bastiavansky and Phil Ivanko here on CBS Sports Golazo, and we are going to move on to some other big games from the MASL over the past weekend. Phil, Empire had picked up their first 2 wins the previous weekend in really a dominant fashion and taking on San Diego. And we were really interested in this game. Like, number one, in any game with San Diego, you're always, you want to take it in. But we wanted to see how Empire was going to do after bouncing back with a couple of wins. They did great in this game. It was a fantastic back and forth affair. Empire nearly managed to knot it up at the end. San Diego did end up taking it 4-3, but what were your thoughts on this contest? It's good to see teams that are able to keep. That was a beautiful header, by the way, by Childs. But great to see teams being able to keep things tight with San Diego. Not so much Chihuahua so far, but with the Sockers for sure. Again, just more evidence of the parity in the league this year.
Well, winning is a skill, and the Sockers have it, right? Because we always talk about these games being really close. I want to see more from the Sockers, impress in front of their home crowd, sort of, dominate the game and sort of really impose against the other team. didn't see a lot of it here. In fact, saw a lot of 5 men behind the ball to combat Empire's system of bringing the goalie up, right?
Right.
But, they did what they had to do, and a couple of absolute world-class goals from the Sockers. Yep. And then really Xavier Snare-Williams in net for Boris Pardo, who we were, apparently was under the weather, so we wish him well. And he really impressed too. And, we talk a lot about the Sockers' depth, right? About them really not having any. Over the years, sort of that being mined and gutted. Well, it's always great when your backup keeper can put in a performance like this and sort of lead the team to a close victory, really, for the Sockers. And then on the Empire side, just got to mention real quick, these are games they have to win. If they want to make the playoffs, they play San Diego 5 times. They play Tacoma a bunch. They got to win these games.
Playing San Diego 5 times is, that's the area they're in. That's just the way it is. Yeah. I just want to Chuck, did you say that San Diego did not have depth over the years? Was that what
I think it's been eroded over the years?
It's been eroded over the years. Yeah. I was going to say, because when you look at, the biggest thing about San Diego, why they didn't have guys winning MVP, was because of the fact they had so much depth on their roster. They could pull from anywhere, right? So you didn't have one guy running away with absolutely everything, right? So no, I just wanted to.
No, it's fair. Fair point.
About here. But no, you're right. So let's talk about. Let's move on to Utica and Harrisburg. Now, this is one, unfortunately, Harrisburg couldn't keep it close. Utica's looked really good so far this season. The only loss, of course, up to this point is against San Diego, and that was a real tight one. But Kelvin Oliveria, Phil, I can't say enough about this guy. MASL rookie. Now, that being said, he's a bit of an older rookie, and he is a Brazilian superstar, which certainly helps. But we've seen time and time again, Fabian was a bit of an anomaly last year, where Fabian came in and he was able to dominate right away. Put up goals right away. He had an incredible year, the Cole Golden Boot winner. That doesn't often happen, but the level to which Oliveira has been able to dominate so far, I don't want to say I'm surprised, but I am a bit surprised, just because when you're playing boards and glass for the first time, success doesn't often come immediately. But man, is this guy talented. 7 points in the win against Harrisburg, Phil.
And he's got hat tricks in 4 straight games, 12 goals on the season. He averages over 4 points a game. And this skill is just, it's otherworldly at some points. If you're sitting there rolling your eyes saying, oh God, they're talking about Kelvin again, just watch these goals, used to man. Yeah, absolutely. Because he's been so clear above everyone else in this league, to the point, where we're at this year, that it's impossible not to mention him, and it's impossible for him not to dominate the conversation.
Yeah, and he's leading the scoring race as an MASL rookie. It's phenomenal stuff. Now, I am interested in seeing, now some will say, oh, maybe he's padded his statistics playing, Harrisburg, twice now, I think it's been. But okay, well, we'll see when they go up against some of the more, heavyweight teams in the league, which I can't wait to see, because Utica has really impressed so far. Phil, we've got about 3.5 minutes left in the segment. So should we do our all-star picks? Of course, what's going on, folks, is the MASL all-star announcement is coming on Wednesday. So the league selections as to who will take part in the all-star game in Utica on February 12th. And the fan voting then opens, correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, opens on Wednesday for the all-star game. So you can have your say as to who you want to see in the all-star game. So Phil and I thought we would come up with our list of all-stars so far. I think maybe we could have agreed within a couple on these as well, but we both chose different ones.
It's good to name some
just
people.
To have a little bit of variety.
Some shouts.
There's so many guys that could be on this list. It's crazy, right? But okay, so let's start with your number one, Phil, and you chose Rayon Marquez.
Rayon Marquez for target, 7 goals on this year. It's really hard to take the spotlight away from Zach Reggett in Kansas City, but that's what he's done. He's been dominant so far this year. He's been really the target that you want to see in a player, and he's been hard to handle, as they say.
Tied with Sanchez for second place, I believe, in the scoring race right now. Yeah, I took Kelvin as my absolute number one right now, and for all the points we just mentioned a couple seconds ago. So, second forward, you chose Morales, who's having a great time at his new club.
I mean, he's taken like a duck to water, right? In San Diego,
Yep.
he's been absolutely spectacular for them. It's hard to ignore him for an All-Star nomination. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I chose Hugo Puentes from the reigning two-time champs, back-to-back in Chihuahua, and fantastic season so far. Midfielder, you chose Sanchez, and that's tough to argue that one. He's just been incredible so far for the Wave.
13 points on the year so far. We talked about it in the first segment. I think he's really kind of becoming the guy in Milwaukee.
And I chose Justin Stinson from Empire, who's just been, to me, uber impressive so far and scoring bangers on the regular. So a lot of the entertainment value is certainly there as well. Defender, Escalante, you chose.
Roberto Escalante, it's kind of hard sort of to ignore what he's doing in Chihuahua. It does go a bit unnoticed sometimes what's going on down there in Chihuahua, but to me, he's the best defender in the league, and he absolutely deserves an All-Star nomination.
We each chose two, obviously. For me, it's you might as well face it. He's addicted to blocks. Robert Palmer for Empire. Now, for all you youngsters out there, you may not get the reference, actually, but it's a great song from the 80s, Addicted to Love. Anyway, I could go off. I chose Chad Vandegrift, 13 blocks so far. He's the block leader. And it's great when these guys put up good offensive numbers, but I want to see blocks for my defenders. And Vandegrift leading the way with 13 for KC right now. And you chose your new man, Jake Dengler.
I mean, you could talk about blocks all you want. Everyone knows how I feel about blocks. So while Dengler has been excellent on the defensive end, he also has 9 points in 5 games. So contributing on both sides of the field, we got to get every team represented in the All-Star game. And that's why my man, Jake Dengler, is in there.
Okay. And for in goal, and I honestly, it's tough to argue with Coughlin. I mean, I love Coughlin in goal. You chose Coughlin as your goalie.
Yeah, I'm still annoyed that he didn't win goalkeeper of the year during that West Coast swing. So he's been spectacular, and he deserves to be there.
For me, save percentage is the ultimate stat for goaltenders, and Chris Toth leads the league in save percentage right now. So I chose Toth as my goalkeeper. Okay, we've got to take a break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes here, and when we come back, we're going to preview the big games coming up. First, on New Year's Eve, and then some of the big games this weekend, or MASL Monday, coming back in just a second. Welcome back to MASL Monday, everybody. Alex Bastiavansky, Phil Levanko, the Chrome Dome brothers, here on CBS Sports Golazo. And before we get to upcoming games, we do want to mention Chihuahua. It's almost like an afterthought now, Phil, because they took care of business. Poor Eddie Pascarich and his Texas Outlaws. And you know what? I think it's going to take just a little bit of time for the coach and the team, to get their systems going. With Chihuahua 14-6 on Friday and 13-2 on Saturday. So Chihuahua just continues to take care of business, unbeaten on the season so far. And they will feature into a couple of games we're going to talk about in a moment. But first, let's cover the New Year's Eve games, because there are some spicy ones, Phil. Let's start off the one in your backyard, Baltimore at Utica. I am absolutely pumped about that game. The re-emerging Baltimore Blast, after a little bit of a rebuild, who've looked really good so far, and Utica City with the league's main man right now in Kelvin Oliveria. This should be a good one.
Well, there should be goals galore, right? Utica has, I mean, they're scoring goals from every angle, right? Baltimore actually is undefeated when they've allowed 5 or more goals too, right? So I think it's going to be run and gun the whole time. What we saw from the young Baltimore players at the end of that Harrisburg game is that they can handle it, right? And they can handle the running up and down. And that's really Utica's bread and butter, is that transition game. When Ronaldinho and Nilton sort of get on running and Logan Roberts gets running, it's hard to keep up with them, especially those old legs Baltimore had, but now they're sort of a little bit younger. And it's just going to be a great game. And really for Utica too, they need to make a statement here, right? On their side. Both teams need this one.
A prediction, Baltimore, if you fall behind 5-0 against Utica, it's going to be an entirely different story. That would be a very, very bad move, and I don't think that's going to happen. So it is it's a shot at revenge for the KC Comets, heading to St. Louis to take on the Ambush at 3:05 Eastern time. I mean, the script is just right there. It's been set up for us after what went down last weekend. This should be a good one as well, Phil.
Oh, I would definitely picture this one. You got both games going on at the same time. I feel like I can make an argument that Kansas City needs the 3 points more than anyone else on Tuesday, and here's why. The way that the schedule works out for Kansas City, and when playoff seeding comes around in that San Diego sort of quarterfinals, they need this one, right? You can't be dropping points, especially to your rivals. Now, this is a away game. Obviously, it takes into account, but you drop points now at home. So now you got to make up those points somewhere else. And what better way to do it than sort of in St. Louis? The schedule is not kind to Kansas City for the rest of the year, right? So they really need to pick up the pace here.
And Dallas in Milwaukee. Poor Dallas keeps getting saddled with the Wave, although they do have a win against them. But that's this will be is it their fourth meeting so far this season? Phil,
It's the third for sure. Yeah,
it's the third. Okay, even it's the third. I mean, so a lot of back and forth, but Dallas will try to bounce back against the Wave, and that's 4:05 Eastern time. I want to touch on a couple of games that I'm really looking forward to for next weekend, because this is going to give us a little bit of a sense of who's got a chance to take down Chihuahua. And I was super high on Tacoma at the beginning of the season. I'm still high on Tacoma. I think they're going to bounce back after a couple of losses. But Tacoma and Chihuahua on Friday, Tacoma almost took them down at home a couple of weeks ago. Chihuahua won in a shootout. And the Stars had the game on their foot. Nick Pereira hitting the goalpost with 5 seconds left in the game. Coulda, shoulda won. Didn't do it. But Tacoma and Chihuahua on Friday. And probably the one that I'm most excited about, Phil, and just comment on this one. We've got about a minute and a half left here. Chihuahua in San Diego, Sunday the 5th, 6:05 PST. That's local time. That one is going to be spectacular.
You and your Pacific time.
Pacific
time zone.
Listen,
get out of
all
here.
of us folks on the West Coast, it's local time. You got to give it local time.
That's fair. In the Eastern time zone in God's country, over here on the East Coast, it's a massive game. It's a massive game for San Diego because we know what a superpower corner sport is for the Savage, right? That Tacoma game that you talked about and you're looking forward to. Someone's got to crack the code of corner sport. It's not going to be Tacoma, right? But what happens is when, Chihuahua travels and they get to these bigger arenas and they got to cross customs and, we have to see what sort of roster they come with. San Diego's got to be, primed for this, right? Because we know how hard it is to travel. It's their second game of the weekend. San Diego is sitting there waiting for them. And, there's been injuries on San Diego's front for sure, right? And hopefully Boris is back and the back line has been hurt. We saw Serda come back this game. But
everything is there. All the ingredients are there for San Diego to pull something off. Last season, I'd have to check the number of games. I think it was 5. Chihuahua was undefeated against the Sockers, and that's unbelievable. And that's something that obviously San Diego, it's all set up. They have no excuses. Interested in watching this weekend. Phil's wanted to see a lot more out of his soccer, so we'll see if they can do it against Chihuahua. That's it, brother, though. We are out of time for this week. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Phil and I will see you next Monday. Take care.